We were aiming for somewhere between 30 to 35 seats, and now we are touching almost 40. So these additional 5 6 seats are something which we were not expecting. And there is a problem with the schemes always, that the schemes are taken for granted when the government gives those schemes. The schemes credit needs to be taken. People need to know which party has facilitated the execution of those schemes. So that exercise was undertaken. The biggest thing which we wanted and tried to manage was to keep the election as localized as possible. Politicians seldom accept mistakes,
Hmm.
and accepting a mistake is a first step towards correction, which I think Mr. Ajit Pawar should be credited with. That he accepted that there are certain flaws, there were certain things which needed to be plugged in, and he worked on it. And fairly, I think the results today show that he was able to do it successfully. We tried to work on their strengths, and we ran a positive campaign, and positive campaign has paid dividends today.
It's been a tremendous election in Maharashtra with an unprecedented tally by the ruling party, by the ruling alliance Mahayuti. And one of the most unexpected parts of it has been the performance of Ajit Pawar's NCP. Now, managing that election is Naresh Arora. He joins us now. And just for everyone who's following it to get more context, Naresh Arora is also the person who worked on the Congress's winning campaign in Karnataka. And he's also the person who's worked with Ashok Gehlot in the Rajasthan campaign, which they almost won, but stopped short of victory. So Naresh Arora, congratulations on this amazing victory.
Thank you, Sunetra. Thank you so much.
Okay, I want to start by just getting down to the brass tacks because as the strategist, you can tell us how it was done. So, will you tell us what are some of those strategies that you used which produced this incredible result?
First of all, Sunetra, the NCP, when we joined in, was reeling under the impact of the outcome of the Lok Sabha elections. And when we entered, we saw that NCP has generally not been functioning in the past 25 years as a party, but as a combination or a cluster of local satraps winning their own pocket boroughs, and of course combining them under one symbol. So, and then there was a divided NCP with the split happening with Mr. Sharad Pawar having an own faction and Mr. Ajit Pawar having his own faction. So the role of Mr. Ajit Pawar was something which needed to be looked into from an administrator to a people's person, as a party president who should be seeking votes, and people should be voting in his name on his call. For that, of course, a Jan Samman Yatra across the state was taken out, despite of NCP not going to contest as many number of seats as other parties. All other 6 parties, rather 5 parties, were going to contest. NCP, in any case, contested the least number of seats in this election. Then the Jan Samman Yatra, of course, raised the morale of the cadre of the MLA candidates, MLAs themselves, who were having nowhere to go after the Lok Sabha elections. In my interactions, I could see that. Post that, the Ladki Bahin Yojana, of course, was something which was to be taken to the people. Its implementation had to be smooth. And there is a problem with the schemes always, that the schemes are taken for granted when the government gives those schemes. The schemes credit needs to be taken. People need to know which party has facilitated the execution of those schemes. So that exercise was undertaken. The biggest thing which we wanted and tried to manage was to keep the election as localized as possible, because we had strong candidates. We zeroed in on the seats which we needed to contest, not grabbing for more number of seats to show false bravado in the number of seats contested, rather than focusing on the numbers of seats won. So once we had outlined that strategy, so our focus was on constituencies. We released constituency-specific manifestos. In fact, Mr. Ajit Pawar himself released a Baramati manifesto from Baramati. Alongside him, 57 other constituency candidates released their manifestos, which was prepared with great deliberation over a period of 2 months in consultation with them. And the MLAs or MLA candidates had very less anti-incumbency against them, because they had relatively worked in their own constituencies. But the Lok Sabha elections had a narrative which, of course, the MLAs were not able to buck. So once their strengths were identified, we tried to work on their strengths, and we ran a positive campaign, and positive campaign has paid dividends today.
Yeah, I mean, you're right when you say positive campaign, because we saw that, one of the interesting things that came out was that Ajit Pawar telling his supporters not to attack his uncle, not to attack Sharad Pawar, and all of that came out as well. I just wanted to ask you, however, you were, of course, I saw your tweet the day voting happened, and you only spoke about Baramati, Ajit Pawar's own constituency. So it would be fair to say that even you didn't know that it would play out like this, where you would win 70% of the seats that you were fighting. So this has been a surprise, I'm assuming.
I would not say a surprise, but yes, we were aiming for somewhere between 30 to 35 seats, and now we are touching almost 40. So these additional 5, 6 seats are something which we were not expecting. And now, when we are analyzing it since morning, we are seeing and post pre this result day in the last 2 days after the polling, we have been analyzing, and we could see that there was a big uptick in the number of votes. Led by Ladki Bahin Yojana. On the ground, also we could see that, but the number of seats that we've got today, I think you are right that we were not expecting to touch 40, but 35 was a number we were aiming for. 30 where we were very confident that we are winning 30 plus seats. I in my off record conversations, I have told many people that we will be around 30 plus 30, but 40 was not a number we were expecting. That's true.
Now, one of the things that going into this election that we heard from the voters there, which I think all of you and both camps were aware of, is that the people were sick of the kind of disruptive politics that we'd seen in the last 5 years, where it was split, and the parties were split, families were split, things like that. How did you all manage to counter that very effectively?
I can speak for my own party with which I was working with, that we were very, very focused. It was a clear strategy. It was a clear understanding that we are going to be focused on what we are supposed to do and what we are required to do. Apart from that, outside, whatever attacks come in, whatever negativity comes in, because the opposition was running a completely negative campaign till the time they realized late in the game that, of course, that negative campaign wasn't working. And I should give credit to the party. I should give credit to Mr. Ajit Pawar, Mr. Sunil Tatkare, Mr. Praful Patel, that they remained focused. They didn't deviate from the decisions and the strategies that were discussed, and the positive campaign never lost its sheen, whether it was from the starting of the Jan Samman Yatra. Throughout that Jan Samman Yatra, Mr. Ajit Pawar addressed 40 constituencies, 40 rallies. In those 40 rallies, he never accused, blamed, abused anyone. In all his social media interactions, his videos went viral. Never did he accuse, abuse anyone. Rather, on the contrary, to the utter surprise of probably everyone, he accepted that contesting Baramati against a family member was a mistake. He should not have done that. And because he accepted very early in the game that it was a mistake, so whatever angst against him making his wife contest against Supriya Sule was vented out in the polling, and was a residual of that also went away. And then, of course, Mr. Ajit Pawar went on to say that now the same mistake is being committed by the opposition camp, that they are putting up a family figure or a family person against him. So that narrative was also, I think, handled quite efficiently, in which, because he actually genuinely felt that this should not have been the case. He did not probably have the ample time to prepare for that Lok Sabha elections, and he was probably rushed into it, and then he faced the consequences. And another credit point which should be given to a political leader always is, which we generally don't do as probably journalists or as whosoever strategists or campaign managers, that the politicians seldom accept mistakes.
Hmm.
And accepting a mistake is a first step towards correction, which I think Mr. Ajit Pawar should be credited with, that he accepted that there are certain flaws, there were certain things which needed to be plugged in, and he worked on it. And fairly, I think the results today show that he was able to do it successfully.
I have to ask you, one of the bombshells that Ajit Pawar's interviews in the entire campaign were very, very newsy, right? I mean, they were newsy every one of them led to a major headline. Now, one of the big bombshells, which I think was inadvertent, I don't think you planned that, Naresh Arora, is him saying that Adani was in the same room in 2019, right? And then we had this huge, now we are seeing this breaking news story of Gautam Adani being indicted in the entire thing. Now, Rahul Gandhi has talked a lot about Adani. Was Adani a factor at all in this campaign, or were you just lucky that this story about Adani being indicted happened after polling?
Well, Sunita, if Mr. Adani or Adani Group's business activities were in any narrative of electoral outcomes, then I am sure you follow elections sitting in Delhi and you have been a very, I should not say use the word veteran, but you are of many electoral battles, that there could have been very different outcomes in many electoral battles running up to Maharashtra. So whether Mr. Adani's activities matter to the public or not, this debate I think has been settled many times over electorally. Yes, there are news worthy, I would say, headlines which were there about Mr. Ajit Pawar making some statements, but in that particular statement as well, in the interview which he gave, out of which the statement was picked out, his reference and context was something else, but the playing out was something else. If you look at the interview carefully, you will be anyone who looks at the interview carefully will be able to make that out.
Okay, final question, and this is a tricky one for you. Um, Ajit Pawar has been deputy chief minister many times, right? He wants to be chief minister. He has been quite unapologetic in his ambitions that way. Now you have very many and all legitimate claimants for the top post. Is this going to be really tricky?
Well, I'm happy about one thing. This doesn't fall into my mandate. I don't have to decide. I don't have to meddle into that. I'm on the same side of the table as you are for this. But according to the numbers as they stand today, I think we should see that what the writing on the wall is. And as per today's conversations between all the alliance partners to which I am privy, that they will be sitting down very soon and taking a call on it. Once the numbers are confirmed, and probably in a day or two, we'll know that who is going to be heading the Maharashtra government.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking with us. And for our viewers, that's how, in those few minutes, that's how we figure out how Ajit Pawar delivered this tremendous strike rate in the election. Thanks for speaking with us, Naresh Arora.
Thank you, Sunetra. Thank you.